Now, archaeologists have discovered ancient rock carvings at the city of Mosul's monumental Mashki Gate.
Get this. After 3,000 years of mystery, a team of archaeologists may have just cracked one of history's biggest riddles.
When Eilat Mazar realized she discovered an ancient structure near Jerusalem, she turned to the Bible to help explain what she found.
The location of King Solomon's tomb. And I'm going to tell you where it is. Yeah, I'm talking about that King Solomon, the biblical ruler famous for his legendary wisdom, unimaginable wealth, and, oh yeah, building the first temple in Jerusalem.
King Solomon is an intriguing figure because the Bible makes so many claims about him, controlling vast amounts of territory.
If you're not familiar with the Bible, you bad Christian. You must have seen the movie on cable TV when you were young. If you thought his story was just the stuff of ancient texts, buckle up, because what these researchers found could change everything we know about him. For centuries, people have been hunting for Solomon's final resting place. Some thought it was just a myth. Others figured it was buried so deep in history that we'd never find it. But thanks to some mind-blowing tech, ground-penetrating radar, and 3D mapping, to be exact, scientists were able to pinpoint an unexplored site near Jerusalem. In fact, they even digitally mapped out exactly how the place used to look. And when they finally got there and dug up his grave, well, let's just say they hit the jackpot. The tomb wasn't just a dusty old crypt. It was packed with treasures that seemed to scream Solomon was here. So what was in there? Oh, it's crazy, I tell you. We're talking golden artifacts so intricately designed, they might as well be museum-worthy. Inscribed tablets that could be filled with Solomon's own laws, treaties, or even pieces of his legendary wisdom. Then there were trade materials. Oh, and just to make things even wilder, there were symbolic representations of the First Temple, possibly blueprints or artistic depictions that could reveal brand new insights about its construction. So what does all this mean? Well, for starters, it could be the ultimate told-you-so moment for historians and biblical scholars. The Bible paints Solomon as an insanely wealthy and powerful ruler, and if these artifacts check out, they could be solid proof that his story wasn't just an ancient exaggeration. Then there's the trade angle. The fact that materials from places as far as Africa and India were found in the tomb just reinforces the idea that Solomon had a hand in some seriously sophisticated global commerce. His ships weren't just floating around the Mediterranean. They were out there making high-level deals across continents. And let's not forget the architectural bombshell. If these representations of the First Temple really are what they seem, they might help historians understand not only how it was built, but why it was such a game changer for religious architecture. Of course, with a discovery this huge, the big questions come rolling in. Should these artifacts stay in Israel, or should the world get a closer look at them in museums? How do we balance historical preservation with cultural and religious sensitivities? And, brace yourself for this one, could these finds lead us to the Ark of the Covenant? Yeah, the Ark, one of history's most mysterious and sought-after relics. It's still unverified, but you can bet people are already connecting the dots. I mean, everything else aside, this is definitely more than just an archaeological breakthrough. It's a bridge between the ancient world and our modern one in a way, if you really think about it. And as experts continue to study these finds, the world watches, waiting to see if history needs to be rewritten. Who knows what other secrets are buried just beneath our feet? And on that note, I think at this point it would be extremely important to tell you about a few more tombs that I think will always be super important for the way that they have helped redefine our understanding of history. Qin Shi Huang was not the kind of guy to do things halfway. This was the man who unified China, declared himself the first emperor, and then decided he needed the most extravagant afterlife setup ever conceived. And when I say extravagant, I mean an entire underground empire, complete with a full-sized army made of clay, rivers of liquid mercury, and God knows what else hidden beneath the earth. His mausoleum, located near Xi'an, is absolutely massive, about 56 square kilometers, which is basically the size of a small city. It took 38 years to build, starting when he was just 13 years old, because apparently he started planning his exit strategy before he even hit puberty. Weird kid. Probably got bullied at school and everything. The most famous part of this burial complex is, of course, the Terracotta Army. And this wasn't some random batch of identical statues thrown together. Each soldier has a unique face, hairstyle, and armor, like some ancient version of a personal security detail. There are thousands of them, standing in formation, complete with horses and chariots, like they're just waiting for battle orders. Some even say their weapons were coated in a special preservative that kept them razor sharp for over 2,000 years. The whole thing was discovered in 1974 by a group of farmers who were just trying to dig a well. You can probably picture their surprise when instead of water, they unearthed an entire army from the past. Weird AF. But the real mystery is what's actually inside the Emperor's tomb. No one really knows because it hasn't been opened yet. Ancient records describe a whole underground kingdom with palaces, stars painted on the ceiling to mimic the night sky, and, weirdly enough, rivers of mercury meant to represent the Yangtze and Yellow rivers. Modern soil tests have found crazy high levels of mercury in the area, which suggests that those old records might actually be true. Some say the tomb is booby-trapped with crossbows set to fire on intruders, Indiana Jones style. Whether that's real or just legend, one thing is clear. Qin Shi Huang wanted to rule for eternity, and even in his passing, he's still keeping his secrets. Now, speaking of insane tombs, let's talk about the Taj Mahal, which is basically the world's most breathtaking love letter carved in stone. Unlike Qin Shi Huang, who built his tomb as a power move, Shah Jahan built his for love, specifically for his wife, Mumtaz Mahal, who succumbed giving birth to their 14th child. Yes, 14th. Heartbroken, he decided that instead of just a regular tomb, she deserved the most magnificent structure ever built. And honestly, he pulled it off. The Taj Mahal is pure perfection, sitting on the banks of the Yamuna River in Agra, glowing in white marble that changes color depending on the time of day, rosy at sunrise, sparkling white in the afternoon, and golden under the moonlight. Construction started in 1632 and took over 20 years, with thousands of artisans working to make it flawless. There were no crazy machines or printers back then, you know. And oh my god, the details are insane. The entire building is covered in delicate calligraphy, intricate floral patterns, and semi-precious stones inlaid into the walls. Inside, there's a stunning marble lattice screen that surrounds the cenotaphs of Mumtaz Mahal and Shah Jahan, although their real graves are actually in a simple little chamber below. The symmetry of the whole structure is mind-blowing, with 4 minarets standing at each corner. Fun fact, those minarets are slightly tilted outward on purpose, so if there were ever an earthquake, they'd fall away from the main dome instead of crashing into it. That's some next-level architectural planning. No one even knew people from the past were that smart until they studied the Mahal. We obviously have to bring up the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. This place is next-level historical. I mean, we're talking about the site where Jesus was crucified, buried, and according to Christian belief, came back to life. That alone makes it one of the most important religious spots in the world. And honestly, stepping inside, you can feel the weight of history pressing down on you. The air is thick with candle smoke, murmured prayers, and the sheer presence of millions of people who have walked through before. Everyone's having a religious experience down here. The whole thing started when Emperor Constantine's mother, Helena, went on what was basically the most intense treasure hunt in history and declared this site to be Golgotha, the place where Jesus lost his life. Constantine built a church over it in the 4th century, and since then, it's been destroyed, rebuilt, and renovated so many times that it's practically a living monument to resilience. Inside, it's a maze of altars, staircases, and chapels, all divided between different Christian groups who don't always get along. Seriously, they've had actual brawls over cleaning schedules. One of the first things you'll see when you walk in is the Stone of Anointing, where people believe Jesus' body was prepared for burial. Pilgrims are always kneeling there, pressing objects against it, hoping to take home a little bit of holiness. Then you go up a narrow staircase, and suddenly you're at Calvary, the spot where Jesus was crucified. It's covered in gold, candles, and mosaics, and people just stand there, staring in awe. But the real centerpiece is the Aedicule, a small chapel inside the church that houses Jesus' tomb. The place is always packed with visitors, all waiting for their turn to step inside. And whether you believe the story or not, standing there, surrounded by centuries of devotion, is something else entirely. Now, onto something more rock and roll, Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris. If cemeteries could be cool, this one would be the king of them all. It's basically the VIP section of the afterlife. Napoleon opened it in 1804, and now over 1 million people are buried there, including some of the most famous artists, writers, and musicians of all time. Walking through it feels less like visiting a graveyard and more like attending a very quiet, very eternal party full of legends. Jim Morrison is probably the biggest name here. The guy was buried in a simple grave in 1971, and it's been a pilgrimage site for Doors fans ever since. People used to leave everything from notes to empty whiskey bottles. But now there's a barrier to keep things a little more under control. Then there's Oscar Wilde's grave, which used to be covered in lipstick kisses from admirers until they put up a glass shield. It still stands out though, a giant Art Deco sculpture of an angel that's as dramatic as Wilde himself. Edith Piaf, France's most beloved singer, is here too. Her grave is always covered in flowers, and even though she's been gone for decades, her music still echoes through the streets of Paris. And then you've got the greats like Chopin, Molière, and Marcel Proust, whose tombs draw visitors from all over the world. The whole place is a mix of grand, hauntingly beautiful mausoleums and tiny, overgrown graves with names long forgotten. Some tombs look like miniature cathedrals, others have statues of grieving angels, and a few are just straight up weird, like the ones shaped like pyramids or guarded by stone dogs. Père Lachaise is ironically full of life. Birds are always singing, the trees give the place a peaceful, almost magical atmosphere, and there's this unspoken understanding that this isn't just a place of mourning, it's a place of remembrance. It makes you think about the impact people leave behind. Some people shape the world through music, some through words, and some just by being unforgettable. And in a way, places like this keep them alive. That's tombs for you. The tomb of Agamemnon, also known as the Treasury of Atreus, is one of the most famous and well-preserved Mycenaean tombs in Greece. Built around 1350 to 1250 BCE, this massive underground structure is a prime example of a tholos, or beehive tomb, a distinctive style used for the elite of Mycenaean society. The tomb is located in Mycenae, a powerful ancient city thought to have been ruled by King Agamemnon, the legendary leader of the Greek forces in the Trojan War. While there's no direct evidence linking Agamemnon to this specific tomb, the name has stuck due to its grandeur and its location in Mycenae, the heart of Homeric legends. People just want to believe he's buried here. The entrance to the tomb is this long, ceremonial passageway called a dromos, which leads up to the massive doorway, which is framed by enormous stone blocks. The lintel stone above the entrance is particularly remarkable. It weighs an estimated 120 tons and is one of the largest single stone pieces used in any ancient construction. Just above the entrance, a triangular opening known as a relieving triangle was originally adorned with decorative relief plaques, possibly of bronze, though these are now lost to history. The main chamber of the tomb is a vast circular space with a soaring domed ceiling, constructed using an ingenious corbelling technique. Each layer of stone slightly overhangs the one below it, gradually closing the dome without the use of mortar. For over 1,000 years, this dome held the record as the largest in the world. The walls are smooth and perfectly cut, creating a conical interior that was once likely adorned with decorative elements. A smaller side chamber, carved directly into the rock, is believed to have housed the actual burials, although any treasures or remains that may have been inside were looted long ago. Maybe you can find them for sale on eBay. Speaking of quintessentially American things. On the other side of the world, in New York City, another monumental tomb stands as a tribute to a leader of a different era. Grant's tomb, officially known as the General Grant National Memorial, is the final resting place of Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th President of the United States and the commanding general who led the Union Army to victory during the Civil War. Situated in Riverside Park in Manhattan, this grand mausoleum is the largest in North America and was built to honor Grant's legacy after his passing in 1885. His funeral was one of the largest in U.S. history, with an estimated 1.5 million people lining the streets to pay their respects. Completed in 1897, Grant's tomb was designed in the neoclassical style, drawing inspiration from ancient mausoleums such as the famous mausoleum at Halicarnassus. The structure stands 150 feet tall and is built primarily from granite. Now, the Pantheon, a building so cool that even after nearly 2,000 years, it's still turning heads. Originally constructed around 27 BCE by Marcus Agrippa, this architectural gem had a bit of bad luck with fires and lightning strikes. The version we admire today was rebuilt by Emperor Hadrian between 118 and 128 CE. Interestingly, Hadrian decided to keep Agrippa's original inscription on the facade, which led to some historical mix-ups about its origins. I should also talk about that jaw-dropping dome. Measuring a whopping 43.3 meters in diameter, it's still the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. The secret? Ancient Romans cleverly used lighter materials like pumice and tufa as they built upwards, reducing the dome's weight. And that central oculus? It's not just for show. It bathes the interior in natural light and even lets in rain, which drains away through 22 hidden holes in the gently sloping floor. Speaking of the oculus, there's a nifty lighting trick that happens every April 21st, Rome's birthday. Next, let's saunter over to the Mausoleum of Hadrian, more popularly known today as Castel Sant'Angelo. Commissioned by Emperor Hadrian in 135 CE as a mausoleum for himself and his family, this towering cylindrical structure has worn many hats over the centuries. Originally, it was a grand tomb adorned with a garden and topped with a golden quadriga, a four-horse chariot. Hadrian's ashes were interred here in 139 CE, followed by those of his wife Sabina and his adopted son Lucius Aelius. But Rome is a city of transformation, as we know, and the mausoleum has been no exception. By the 5th century, it had morphed into a military fortress. Its strategic location near the Tiber River made it a prime spot for defense. Come the Middle Ages, it evolved into a refuge for popes during turbulent times. A fortified corridor known as the Passetto di Borgo was even constructed, linking it directly to St. Peter's Basilica, allowing popes to make a swift, secure escape when danger loomed. One of the most striking features of Castel Sant'Angelo is the statue of the Archangel Michael perched atop. Legend has it that in 590 CE, during a devastating plague, Pope Gregory I saw a vision of the Archangel sheathing his sword above the mausoleum, signaling the end of the epidemic. To commemorate this celestial event, a statue was erected, giving the fortress its current name, Castel Sant'Angelo, or Castle of the Holy Angel. Over the years, the fortress has served various roles: a papal residence, a prison, and now a museum. Visitors can explore its rich history, marvel at the Renaissance frescoes, and enjoy panoramic views of Rome from its terraces. This is a city that knows how to adapt and repurpose its monumental structures, keeping them relevant and fresh always. Now that's good tombing. Next, I want to talk you down a stroll through Moscow's Red Square, where amidst the grandeur of the Kremlin and the colorful domes of St. Basil's Cathedral, you'll find a rather somber, pyramid-like structure, Lenin's mausoleum. It's pretty drab, but that's why it's important. It's the eternal resting place of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, the mastermind behind the Bolshevik Revolution. So of course, it looks like that. When Lenin passed away in 1924, the Soviet government faced a conundrum: how to honor their founding father. Enter architect Alexei Shchusev, who was tasked with creating a suitable tomb. In record time, a modest wooden structure was erected near the Kremlin wall, allowing throngs of mourners to pay their respects. But wood wasn't going to cut it for the long haul. By 1930, Shchusev unveiled a more permanent, grandiose mausoleum made of polished red granite and black labradorite, exuding an aura of solemnity befitting the revolutionary leader. The mausoleum's design is an optimized balance of ancient and modern influences. Its step-like appearance echoes the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, while the sleek materials scream 20th century sophistication. Inside, the atmosphere is hushed and reverent, as you would expect from a red state. Visitors descend into the dimly lit chamber where Lenin's embalmed body lies in a glass sarcophagus, looking eerily lifelike thanks to meticulous preservation efforts. It's like he's just taking a power nap before the next proletarian uprising. Speaking of preservation, keeping Lenin looking fresh is no small feat. A dedicated team of scientists, sometimes referred to as the Lenin Lab, regularly treats his body with a cocktail of embalming fluids and carefully controls the temperature and humidity of his glass abode. It's a bit like maintaining a vintage car, but instead of a classic Mustang, it's a former head of state. Over the years, the mausoleum has seen its fair share of drama. During World War II, with the Nazis knocking on Moscow's door, Lenin's body was whisked away to Siberia for safekeeping. It returned to its Red Square home after the war, resuming its role as a pilgrimage site for communists and curious tourists alike. In the post-Soviet era, debates have raged about whether to finally lay Lenin to rest underground. Polls suggest that a majority of Russians favor burial, but for now, Lenin remains on display, a silent sentinel of a bygone era. Visitors continue to file through, adhering to strict rules. No photography, no talking, and definitely no chewing gum. There was even a time when the whole mausoleum was covered in a white dome, so no one could come in. It's a solemn experience, but also a fascinating glimpse into the Soviet psyche and their veneration of Lenin. Now, for my last act, let's hop over to Lahore, Pakistan, where amidst the hustle and bustle lies a serene oasis, the tomb of Jahangir. This isn't just any tomb, it's the final resting place of the fourth Mughal emperor, Jahangir, who ruled from 1605 to 1627. Known for his love of art, architecture, and, let's be honest, a good time, Jahangir's tomb reflects his refined tastes. After Jahangir's demise, his wife, the formidable Noor Jahan, commissioned the construction of this magnificent mausoleum in Shadara Bagh, a garden retreat that Jahangir adored. Completed in 1637, the tomb is a testament to Mughal architectural prowess, blending Persian influences with local craftsmanship. Approaching the tomb, you're greeted by a grand entrance through the Akbari Sarai, a gateway that once served as a resting place for travelers. Beyond the gateway lies a sprawling Persian-style charbagh, four-part garden symbolizing paradise, complete with flowing water channels and fragrant flora. It's the kind of place you'd want to spend an eternity, which, conveniently, is exactly what Jahangir is doing. The mausoleum itself is a square structure adorned with intricate frescoes, marble inlays, and pietra dura, stone inlay work that would make any art aficionado swoon. Each corner of the building boasts a 30-meter-high minaret, topped with a white marble cupola, standing tall like sentinels guarding their emperor. The central chamber houses Jahangir's cenotaph, a simple yet elegant white marble slab inscribed with delicate calligraphy, a stark contrast to the opulence of the surrounding decorations. Over the centuries, the tomb has faced its fair share of challenges, given that it's located in such an unstable country. During the Sikh era, it suffered neglect and even some plundering. The British later attempted restorations, and in recent times, the Pakistani government, along with organizations like the Aga Khan Trust for Culture, has undertaken significant efforts to preserve this historical gem. It's in much better condition now if you want to go see it. So, which of these tombs do you think is the best way to honor life after passing? Or do you believe human beings need to forget about being remembered forever and just move along?